With that, Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Morris, can you just tell me why did HealthSpring pursue this initiative, which I guess I would kind of consider it's capitated coordinated care? Would that be an accurate description?
That would be correct. The initiative from the demonstration projects, just to clarify. Yes, so HealthSpring, we, as a Medicare Advantage plan, we take, we accept payments from Medicare, A and B and D on the Part D. So we approach all of what we do in coordinating for any member, Medicare, dual eligibles, in a capitated way. So in that approach, the first thing we're going to do is, we want to align the incentives of their providers downstream. We want to be innovative. We want to create programs such as the Partnership for Quality I spoke to in my testimony, as well as the Living Well Health Centers and so forth. So we are very interested in these demonstration projects, and we feel it aligns the incentives from a payer perspective, be that Medicare, Medicaid, but at the same time, we think kind of the people and the payers that can qualify, such as the different things, the different payers have been represented here today, Medicaid and PACE and Medicare Advantage, not be, I guess, put it a non-competitive advantage to demonstrate what they can do in an innovative way.
Yes, question. This was something done on your own company's initiative, or is this something that was part of this particular government program?
This is to participate in the demonstration product would be our own company's initiative.
Okay. Private sector did it. Okay. Dr. Berenson, are you familiar with your Urban Institute study that compares the long-term contribution of retiring couples into Medicare versus what the expected benefit is? I don't want to be springing that on you if you're not familiar with it.
Well, that was done by a different branch. Gene Sterley's work, yes, I'm aware of it. I don't know a lot of the details, but I am aware of it.
Roughly, I think he found for a couple retiring today, basically two average earner couple, they would have paid in roughly about $116,000 into Medicare with an expected benefit, and all these things are time value adjusted, of about $350,000, which kind of shows sort of the mismatch of the funding mechanism. The reason I raise that issue is when I take a look at the health care law, it was supposedly funded for 10 years by about $500 billion in taxes, fees, and penalties, and about $500 billion, $500 billion in reductions to Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare Advantage. Is that roughly correct?
Medicare. Medicare Advantage and provider payments, not Medicaid as far as I know. It was largely Medicare cuts, yes.
To my knowledge, we really haven't even enacted the SGR doc fix, which is about $208 billion. I'm not quite sure. Are you aware that we're actually initiating those savings from Medicare over this 10-year period?
I believe the actuary has sort of two estimates, one which is current law, which assumes the SGR occurs, and then sort of a real-world picture in which it assumes that Congress does what it's done for the last 10 years and does not allow those cuts to go into place. Yeah.
Here's my question, my concern, and again, I appreciate the fact that we're looking for efficiencies within the system, but I'm afraid the system is going to be horribly broken, because if we roll the budgetary window forward to when the health care law actually gets fully kicked in, about 2016, full spending, the total cost of the health care law will be about $2.5 trillion over 10 years. The taxes, fees, and penalties, currently about $500 billion. Maybe those will grow, maybe they won't. That leaves about a $2 trillion deficit gap, or money that's going to have to come from, I guess, Medicare or Medicaid or something else. Does that concern any of you in terms of what you're trying to do working with either Medicare or Medicaid? And are you aware of that type of funding gap with the health care law? I guess we'll start with Dr. Berenson.
We could go in any number of directions on this. I also would, I guess, cite data that suggests that both CBO and the actuaries have projected that per capita spending in Medicare for the next 10 years is projected to increase at about 1% above inflation, or at about GDP. It's the best it's been since the founding of the program. Whether that's sustainable or not is up for debate, but it's clear that at least in the 25-year projections that the real pressure on Medicare funding, and it's significant, is from a near doubling of the beneficiary population who will be in Medicare. So we clearly have a serious problem. The question is whether per capita spending reductions of the kind I think that these programs would lead to by itself can solve the problem.
So I guess my point being is we have a huge problem with Medicare as it is. The health care law starting 2016 adds about a $2 trillion problem to that figure. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.